Where does God fit into your life? There are some people for whom God is what they don't believe in, and that's where God fits into their life. They are the non-believers, or the agnostics, the doubters. That's God in their life. Then there are people who believe in God, who are observant and committed to the mitzvahs, but it's not because of God. So this week's portion, this week's Torah reading, which is Shlach, talks about idolatry, about unintentional idolatry, which that itself needs to be understood. How do you worship an idol unintentionally? Idol worship means to believe in something, to attribute power to something. How do you do that unintentionally? Unconsciously. So it's possible that you're attributing power and significance to a creation, not knowing that that constitutes idolatry. So you're doing idolatry, you know you're doing it, but you don't know that it's forbidden. Okay, that's a distinct possibility. But one of the strange things that the commentaries say about idolatry is that if you mistakenly fall into idolatrous thinking, you will misinterpret the rest of the Torah and you will draw the wrong conclusions, which seems to be saying that we're talking about somebody who studies the Torah, who takes the Torah seriously, and the problem is that he may misinterpret what he's reading. And again, unintentionally or unknowingly. So we're not talking about people who are into idol worship. First of all, they're doing it unintentionally. And secondly, one of the consequences is that they will misinterpret the Torah, which means they read the Torah, they study the Torah, and they take the Torah seriously, but they're a little misled as to the meaning or significance of what they're studying. So you can have people who study the Torah, who know the Torah, and yet they're unintentionally worshiping idols. One possibility is a person who says, I believe in the Torah, I follow the Torah, I obey its commandments. I just have no idea who God is, what God is. I can't make him real in my life, so I just give up on it. I don't know him, I'll never know him, I will never understand him. I'm actually being humble, knowing that he is infinite and I am not, and I humbly agree that I will never know him. So why do I observe the commandments? I do what I'm told. I'm obedient. Told by whom? By the rabbis, by the sages. That constitutes a form of idolatry. I'm not doing what God says because I don't know what God says. But I will do what the rabbis tell me. Unintentionally, that's a form of idolatry. So, what does it mean that if you unintentionally are serving an idol, that you will misinterpret Torah? What it means is, if you're not clear about what God wants and who God is and what God is, but you're studying the Torah and taking it seriously, you're probably misinterpreting. Because that's what idolatry leads to. So, we cannot have Torah without God. That's idolatry. And if you say, I don't know God and I will never know God, then you don't have a God for all practical purposes. And that's why it is such a huge mitzvah to get to know God, to really know Him, not just to admit that He exists. And that's why we talk. That's why we have these programs. That's why we have these Zooms and these podcasts and all the rest of them, to get to know God so that God becomes our focus of worship, not the rabbis or the commandments. His commandments. Well, then I got to know who He is. And of course I can, because He makes Himself known to those who seek Him. We have a Sunday night program for VIPs that you might be interested in. It's informal, it's questions and answers, it's conversation. It's really relaxed, it's really pleasant, enjoyable, informative, and kind of community-like. It's a Sunday night program, there's a Wednesday morning program for the VIPs, and there's a Wednesday night program. All of it just conversation, casual, laid-back, unscripted. So join us, take a look, click the link below, and see which of the three suits you best, and join us for some enjoyable conversation.